I have a dream.
You can't connect the dots looking forward.
One small step for man.
You can only connect them looking backwards.
One giant leap for mankind.
I am the greatest.
You need to have support. How many are turning to starting their own businesses?
Decision is the ultimate power.
The greatest bands need great producers.
Music fans bought more than 1 billion individual songs from online services such as Apple's iTunes.
Trick yourself out of habits and find a new angle.
Anything is possible.
If it feels right, move forward. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Every dream starts small.
Good morning, entrepreneurs around the world. This is our time, and our planet will be our playing ground. We entrepreneurs will change our societies like no one has done it in the history of our world. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Show. My name is Anthony Lacopo, and I'll be your host for this new show where the focus will solely be on the best profession in the world, entrepreneurship. The objective of the show is that every week we'll take an honest look at a key question relating to entrepreneurship. I will break down the myths around it to find the real deal. And then I will try to share my personal experiences in dealing with these issues. The objective is not really to answer the questions with a right and wrong or a yes and no, but to share experiences. And hopefully, through sharing, it can help entrepreneurs out there make better decisions to their journey to changing our world. Now, last week was my first show as a host. Like I had mentioned, I'm not a professional host, but I must say that I really enjoyed doing the show, yet I was really nervous and I was wondering how it was gonna really come out on the radio. But one of my philosophies is really to put yourself out there and put yourself in new environments to challenge your status quo. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I did with this show. So I enjoyed it, so I'm back, and this week we'll try to look at a different question. So last week's question was mostly between, looking at the role of a politician, the activist, and the entrepreneur, and what was their impact, what were their impact on the societies. This week, we'll look at the following question. So everybody knows and understands that some of the greatest innovation in recent history have taken places in or around academic institutions, including successes like Google, Facebook. But at the same time, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in recent history, like Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, and many others, are almost proud to proclaim their academic shortcomings. So in a time where knowledge, initiative, and ambition often collide with each other, the question becomes clear. Is education the key to entrepreneurial success? Or is it an obstacle? So that's what we'll talk about this week, is education overrated for entrepreneurs? So during the broadcast, I will be available on Twitter, like every week, at Anthony Lacopo, one word. If you want to talk, if you want to brainstorm, if you have any ideas, comments, don't hesitate. Drop me a tweet and we could discuss. So I'll be there to answer your questions, discuss topics, and just, see what's your opinion or maybe your experience based on this topic. But before we proceed with the question of the week, let's get the key takeaways from last week's show. So if you remember last week's shows, the first 2 segments were basically on my experience, how I became an entrepreneur. And I think that the important takeaways from last week's shows, for me, is that we're not born entrepreneurs. So everyone has the chance to become an entrepreneur. What we need, I think, is the seed of ambition and the capacity to dream. So I think if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to become an entrepreneur, that's where I was mentioning that it was so important for parents to instill in their young children that seed of ambition and the possibility and the capacity to be able to dream. Don't forget, like I mentioned last week, everything needs to happen twice in order to happen in our reality. It has to happen in our heads and then we're able to develop it in our world. The second learning is that entrepreneurship cannot be defined by a definition or only words. It's defined by actions of people putting themselves out there, trying new things in order to solve existing problems. That's what really entrepreneur is. It's really to look at our situation, look at what exists in our world, look at the problems that exist, and come up with a solution and going to the end to try to solve it. That's what entrepreneurship is. So it's based on actions. The other key learning that we had last week is that we needed to put ourselves in an uncomfortable position, because for our body to be able to move forward in tough environment, we need to put ourselves out there. Remember the quote, "Burn the boats," from the Viking stories. Once the boats are burned, our body becomes focused at the task at hand and will not stop until we succeed. So putting ourselves out there and in a position where we could only go forward is extremely important. We have to stop always thinking, we have to stop analyzing, and we just have to start becoming entrepreneurs. And finally, the last key learnings that I would bring up from last week is that entrepreneurship becomes a lifestyle. It's not a job anymore. Once you're an entrepreneur, once you start working or developing your dreams, it's no more a job. That's why really entrepreneurs don't calculate the hours that they work, because they're always working. They're always in their family lives. Everything's all mixed together because it's part of their lifestyle. So it's not a job. It's really a lifestyle. And finally, don't forget, and it's really important from last week's learning, is that luck favors the well-prepared. So prepare yourself. And it's funny because this week we're talking about one of the subjects of how to get prepared as education. But there's a lot of ways to get prepared, to get ready for entrepreneurial success. So that was last week's key learnings that, in my opinion, were, I think, important to take back. Now this week, before we get into the question at hand, and the question was, is education overrated for entrepreneurial success? Let's take a look at my education background. Now, if you look at my resume, you'll notice that I have, a lot of degrees. But the important is, why did I do all these degrees? What was my objective? How could I go from having a Bachelor of Engineering to, a Bachelor in Law? And there's a reason for that. And I want to go through my education experiences before we attack the question of the week to make you understand my experience and which decision I took to take those degrees. And I'll let you know also the results. Now, right now, I have a couple of bachelors. I have a Bachelor's of Engineering in Telecommunication. I have a Bachelor's of Law. I have an MBA in Marketing and Finance. And finally, which I did recently, I have a certificate in entrepreneurship at MIT in Boston. And there's a lot of reasons why I did all these degrees. And I can tell you right now that one of the reasons is, again, I love to put myself in very different situation and push myself to succeed. But before we get on to the question of the week, let's look at how I got there. What was my thought process behind every decision to where I got today, if we look at my education? Let's start all the way back to high school. When I was a teenager, I was going to high school. I wasn't a brilliant student. I was an average student. I was a student that I was going to summer school. My marks were average, but I wasn't really a great student. I was just studying or doing my work just to get by. I really had no ambitions towards education. But I had one passion during high school, and it was computers. I didn't mention it at the first show, but one of the key events that happened, I would say, in my life, was when I was a very young teenager, And my parents brought us this computer, this brand new computer, which back then was a lot of money for what we were getting, but it gave me the option of really getting interested in computers, electronics. And that's when I started really looking into it and working with computers. And that was my passion when I was in high school. Now, once I finished high school and I went to college, like I mentioned, I knew I wanted to become an engineer because I liked telecom, I liked, electronics. And I thought, engineering was the best road to be able to work in that field. But I went to college and I went in the science program because that was the road to take to go to engineering. But I wasn't ready for school. Again, like I mentioned, I had no passion for education. I really had more passion in electronics and IT. So I went to college in science, and for a whole year, I wasted my time. To the point that after 1 year, I needed to change college because the college did not accept me anymore because my grades weren't there. And it was a wake-up call for me. It was a wake-up call because I had to decide if I was serious in becoming an engineer or if I really wasn't serious and maybe dropping out and starting to look for work elsewhere. Now, I wasn't succeeding because I wasn't smart or I didn't have the capacity to learn. I was not succeeding because I didn't have the passion for it. I didn't like what we were studying. Now, let's go to commercial, and when we come back, we'll continue with my educational story.
Be sure to friend us on Facebook. You can do it right now. Visit facebook.com/Voice America or search for us at keyword Voice America.
Hi, I'm your customer. We've been together for a while, but sometimes it feels like you take me for granted. Sure, you answer when I call. You tell me things will be all right, but I feel like we're growing apart. Maybe it's time we, start seeing other people.
Your customers have more options than ever to take their business across the street, and many believe that the competition is more eager to have their business than you are. What are you doing to make sure your customers are happy, satisfied, loyal?
Please leave a message after the tone.
Can you send another technician?
You guys are the worst company. Can I speak to the supervisor?
This isn't working. How many times are we going to...
What is wrong with you guys? I mean, can we fix this once and for all?
Do I have a contract with you? This is ridiculous.
No, it doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Thank you for calling.
Don't confuse customer satisfaction with customer service. Utopia Image helps you map out the entire client interaction and provides an organic approach to make sure that the issues that make your customers unhappy are really being fixed in real time. Call Utopia Image 1-866-242-5592 or utopiaimage.com.
If you think you've seen online TV before, let us surprise you.
VoiceAmerica.tv is online now.
The leader in live internet talk radio has done it again. Multiple channels, a state-of-the-art viewing experience, live and on-demand programs streaming 24 hours a day. It's exactly what you want, when you want it.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
From health and wellness to business, sports, and everything in between. Discover our new world. Visit VoiceAmerica.tv now and experience the future of online television.
VoiceAmerica.tv.
Are you tired of the government squandering your tax dollars on bailouts and overpaid bureaucrats? On Free Markets with Dr. Mike Beitler, Mike Beitler and his guests explain why big government regulations are the problem and innovative businesses and free markets are the solution. Listen to Free Markets with Dr. Mike Beitler, Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific on the Voice America Business Network.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Show. This is Anthony Lacopo, And today we're dealing with the following question. Is education overrated? What do you think? Now, some of the greatest innovations in recent history have taken place in or around academic institutions, such as internet successes like Google, Facebook. But at the same time, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in recent history, like Richard Branson from Virgin, Steve Jobs from Apple, Guy Laliberté from Cirque du Soleil, are almost proud to proclaim their academic shortcomings. So in a time where knowledge, initiative, and ambition often collide with each other, the question becomes clear. Is education the key to entrepreneurial success, or is it an obstacle? What is your thought on that question? Don't forget, I'm on Twitter. You have any comments? What was your roadblocks when going to school? Did you have to make key decisions that influence where you are today? Don't hesitate to write me on Twitter or on the entrepreneur page on Facebook. Now let's go back to my story. So I was at college. I was at a point that I was going to decide if I was going to continue to pursue my engineering degree or drop out of school and go look for work elsewhere. Now, the decision could have been easy, but there was a lot at stake there. And that is one of the problems that I see in our societies, is that we have such high esteem for education. My parents are immigrants that immigrated here in Canada, so for them, school was everything. So I grew up in a family where there was no question of dropping out. Like, we had to go to school. So that created a lot of pressure to kind of take the decision of continuing my education. Because if I was going to announce to my parents that we're dropping out of school, it was going to break their hearts, and it would have really make them not happy, because when they immigrated here, they immigrated with not much, and their dream was that their kids could really become successful in their professional life. And for them, and for the majority of people, we're kind of brought up in a system where you go to school, you study, you get a degree, and then you work for the rest of your life. So that was kind of the mind frame that a lot of people have, and that was instilled on me. So I decided to go to school. So I went, looking for colleges that were going to accept me, and I ended up in a professional college where I did a technical degree to become a technician. Again, the short way of becoming an engineer, I could have went through the science program, but because it didn't work out, I took the long route where I had to have a technical degree before proceeding to my engineering degree. But when I went to school in my technical degree, that's where, I really became serious. And I really started putting the effort in my education. So I had great grades. I really I enjoyed myself. But why? Because the school that I was attending really answered to my need. It was very technical oriented. It wasn't very theoretical, because I wasn't a theoretical person. And that's why I was having a lot of success. Now, after college, I decided to go to university. And I went to university or college, in the United States, to start studying in engineering. And when I went to engineer, I loved my education there. The teachers were great. I was implicated in engineering competition. I was implicated in research in their research laboratories, working with teachers, with PhDs, in my summers or part-time. And I loved what I was doing because I loved the technical aspect of my education. Now, the initial decisions I took, college and becoming an engineer, was really oriented towards because I wanted to become an engineer. It wasn't oriented towards, I wanted to become an entrepreneur. Yes, in the back of my head, I knew that one day I was going to become an entrepreneur, but I knew I was going to become an engineer first. So I had a great time at school. I had great marks. I implicated myself. I met a lot of great people and great teachers, which I still today keep in contact. But then, after finishing university, that's when I started my career. So I went, working, like I mentioned, for telecommunication companies. Now, what did my engineering degree bring to my entrepreneurship qualities of today? Now, the engineering degree that I got was tremendous in forging my brain or my thought process of how I'm thinking today. Now, what I've learned in university or college was very technical, about radio waves, frequencies, resistance, etc. I mean, I don't use that in my work today. But what it left me with is with a really strong thought process and a creative way of solving problems. So that I would tell you that is the main takeaway from my engineering degree in university, is that the way I think today, the way I solve things today, the way I think about things is really due to the work that I put in my engineering degree. Now, the second step in my education was to go and obtain an MBA degree. So while working, I decided to do my MBA, an executive MBA, part-time during the weekends. Now, why an MBA, like I mentioned? Because I had a strong technical background and I wanted to start a business one day. I wanted to at least get some tools in finance and marketing. Now, I did my MBA on part-time. It took me about 2 years. And for me, it was great. Now, a lot of people ask me all the time, Anthony, is it worth doing an MBA? Should I be doing an MBA? And what I answer to these people is very simple. Why do you want to do an MBA? I strongly believe that in everything we do today, whether in education or professional courses or seminars, there has to be a goal, an end goal to that. And for me, it's always about becoming the best at what we do. So if an MBA will help you to become a better professional, a better entrepreneur, you should do it. If it's just going to give you some notions that are really not going to help you become great, then you should look at maybe different programs or spend your time doing something else. Now, for me, with a technical background, an MBA had a lot of value because it was going to help me introduce the marketing and the financial perspective to my technical thought process. Now, it's different if somebody did a degree in business. They might not get that same value from that. Maybe those people should look at more orienting their careers in e-commerce or more of the internet type technologies or IT technologies to complement their current thought process. So for me, the MBA was great because, like I mentioned, now not only did I have a very creative way of thinking and solving problems, but I was able to integrate different variables to that thought process, which was the finance aspect and the marketing aspect. Now, apart from helping me be a better thinker and problem solver, what did my MBA bring me the most to my entrepreneurship today is really the whole networking stuff. Networking is crucial to any professional career. Either you're a professional or an entrepreneur. And until I reached my MBA, I was very introverted. Like I mentioned, I wasn't this person very extroverted, very comfortable speaking around people. But by doing an executive MBA and being surrounded by exceptional, successful business people that they had network, it kind of gave me the confidence of being able to talk with these people and debate and have a conversation about business and meeting great people. So the biggest takeaway for my MBA, apart from my thought process qualities, was really the how to network and being comfortable with very successful and professional people. So that was my MBA. But while doing my MBA, I was doing my law degree too. That's why I was doing an executive MBA in the weekend, because my Bachelor of Law was taking up my weekdays. So during my weekdays, I was doing my law at night. In the weekend, my MBA, and during the day, I used to work. A lot of people, just to make a quick note, a lot of people say, why were you putting so much pressure on yourself? Because back then, I was young. I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. I still didn't have my own company. And I knew I had to do this before getting much more responsibilities and having kids and so forth. So I wanted to finish this as soon as possible. And thank God that I had a great wife that was supporting me on this, because she knew my ambitions. She knew where we wanted to take all this, and I had her backup. Now, I started my law degree, and that was, if you talk about putting yourself in a very uncomfortable situation, that was the case again for me when I did my law degree. It was incredible. That was totally, really for me, in putting myself in a situation where I was not comfortable. I never succeeded in the past, because law is very theoretical. It's about reading, about understanding, about analyze. And I wasn't the type of person. I was more of a hands-on guy. But for 6 years, because I was doing it part-time from 2002 to 2008, I went through it. I did it. And to be honest with you, a couple years before the end, I really thought a lot of times of giving up. It was really tough for me. And I really thought of, it wasn't going to work out. But I stuck to it. Let's go to commercial now. And I'll finish my story when we come back.
What's going on behind the scenes with your favorite Voice America show or host? For the latest news, visit the iRadio blog at iradioblog.com.
Hi, I'm your customer. We've been together for a while, but sometimes it feels like you take me for granted. Sure, you answer when I call. You tell me things will be all right, but I feel like we're growing apart. Maybe it's time we, start seeing other people.
Your customers have more options than ever to take their business across the street, and many believe that the competition is more eager to have their business than you are. What are you doing to make sure your customers are happy, satisfied, loyal?
Please leave a message after the tone.
Can you send another technician?
You guys are the worst company. Can I speak to the supervisor?
This isn't working. How many times are we going to...
What is wrong with you guys? I mean, can we fix this once and for all?
Do I have a contract with you? This is ridiculous.
No, it doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Thank you for calling.
Don't confuse customer satisfaction with customer service. Utopia Image helps you map out the entire client interaction and provides an organic approach to make sure that the issues that make your customers unhappy are really being fixed in real time. Call Utopia Image 1-866-242-5592 or utopiaimage.com.
Follow the Voice America Talk Radio Network on Twitter. We're at Voice America TRN. You'll get the latest fix on what's happening with our shows, this week's featured guests, and general happenings that you should know about at the Voice America Talk Radio Network. Now you don't have to miss anything when you're away from your home or office. Just go to twitter.com/Voice America TRN or follow along with us at Voice America TRN, the Voice America Talk Radio Network. We're on the cutting edge of social media.
Can you keep up?
Entrepreneurial Insights is your weekly excursion into the world of business ownership. Presented by Sunbelt Business Brokers, the leading business brokerage and intermediary firm in the world. Entrepreneurial Insights will examine critical issues that impact both existing and prospective business owners. If you own or want to own a small business, listen for Entrepreneurial Insights with John Davies, Pino Baccinello, and Matt Ottaway. Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel. When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Show. This is Anthony Lacopo, and today we're dealing with the following question. Is education overrated? Some of the greatest innovations in recent histories have taken place in or around academic institutions, including internet successes such as Google and Facebook. But at the same time, some of the most successful entrepreneurs in recent history, like Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, Guy Laliberté, are almost proud to proclaim their academic shortcomings. So in a time where knowledge, initiative, and ambition often collide with each other, the question becomes clear. Is education a key to entrepreneurial success, or is it an obstacle? Do you have any opinion on my education road? Did you have any roadblocks, in your life? How did you handle your education? Did you have pressures from your parents, friends to go to school? Did you decide to drop out of school and start a business? I'm on Twitter. Don't hesitate to drop me a tweet, questions, and we could maybe have a discussion on that. Now let's get back to my law degree. So like I said, it was one of the toughest degrees that I've done because it kind of put me not in my element, not in my strength. But I stuck to it. I did my course. And like I said, the main reason that kept me in is that I had 2 kids, and that I knew that one day I'll tell them that story and how important it is for anyone, not only entrepreneurs, but any professional person or anyone, is that when you start something, you have to finish it, no matter what. Even if you already think that it won't bring you value, you started something. And I think that is one of the biggest achievement of my law degree is, the achievement of having a Bachelor of Law is great. For me, it's a great success. It kind of made me push my limits and prove to myself that I'm able to accomplish anything. But the greater success is that it proved to me that once you just answer one question in your mind, which is, do never quit on something you started. Once that is clear in your head, it has a lot of power, and it enables to push you to complete things that sometimes are tremendously hard and weigh on you a lot. So I've done, when I was doing my MBA, I just want to come back to when I was saying is that I was doing my MBA, my law degree, I was working all at the same time. And it's really important for people to understand that, life has to be planned. You could plan your entrepreneurship projects, you could plan your projects. And for me, it was really important that I was accomplished all my educational learnings early in my career, because I knew once I launched myself in entrepreneurship, I would be too busy trying to change the world or to make the world a better place, and I wouldn't have as much time to concentrate on education. So because, like I mentioned, a great support of my wife and my surroundings, I was able to do that. And by the age of 33, 34 years old, I had finished all those degrees. Now, after my law, what did my law bring to my entrepreneurship? Of course, it helped me develop this determination attitude. I was much more determined and much more confident in myself that nothing could come in front of me that I could not handle. What it did also, it made me meet people, like I mentioned on the first show, that would eventually help me develop my software for my company once I had started up. But it also gave me kind of a secret weapon, because now I feel when I talk to lawyers or I talk to business people, I'm able to understand. They don't see me coming. I'm able to understand what they're telling me. I'm able to, lift those red flags. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a great lawyer. My objective when I was doing my Bachelor of Law wasn't to become a lawyer. It was really to get just the tools to be able to kind of know where I'm going and knowing how to take the right decisions or to raise those flags when I thought there would have been an issue. Because, when you're an entrepreneur or when you're in business, there's a lot of sharks out there. A lot of people are waiting, especially to take advantage of people that don't have that experience. So law gave me that. But what it did also give me, it gave me a lot of credibility, tremendous credibility. Being a young entrepreneur, when you're talking to financial institutions, when you're talking to partners, to potential customers, when you want to discover or develop a new market, when you're the only founder of a company trying to do all that, when people look at your background and they see all that accomplishment, it gives you instant credibility. And in my case, it helped me tremendously to start my business and to bring my business where it is today. Also, what it helped me to is that in 2010, when I got chosen to go to MIT, because in Quebec we have this great program where it's a governmental program where the government chooses every year 10 companies with great potential to go internationally, and they mix these entrepreneurs with MIT entrepreneurs to share experiences, to learn. And I got chosen to go to this program, and it was a year program, and it was MIT, it was at the Sloan Business School with great entrepreneurs. And one of the factors that helped me to get chosen to go to the MIT program was not only my business success, but also my academic success. So I had the privilege to spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs from MIT, from people that had created companies from nothing and sold them for hundreds of millions of dollars. If I thought I was ambitious, now my ambition was amplified by at least 100 times. I was so privileged to spend, there was a week we went to MIT, we were with about 130 other entrepreneurs from around the world, sharing experiences, working on new ideas. It was a tremendous privilege, and it was an experience that I'll never forget, and that made me, as an entrepreneur, much more ambitious and gave me the tools to develop my company even more than I had previously. Now, MIT is a great university. And the key takeaways, again, from that program, again, it wasn't not only the theory, but it was the people that we met. It was, I have people that I know now all over the world. We keep in touch. It's the network. People that, if you need help, if you need advice, they're there. And I think MIT is a tremendous innovative motor that continuously develops and puts in our world great ideas, great solutions. And for me, it was kind of reaching Mount Everest when I went to this program. It was really something great and amazing. Now, with all this education, if we look at today, when we look at the past, it's great. It's for me, I'm impressed myself that I was able to do all that. But if you look at step by step, everything that I've done, anybody could do it. I didn't develop the new, I didn't go to the moon or develop the new, a new scientific cure for something. I took everything step by step, and I had a goal for everything that I had accomplished. There's some people that might have refused to go to MIT based on the costs. I believe that there's no cost that you could put, there's no amount of money you could put on certain events. It's not the education that attracted me at MIT. What attracted me to go to MIT was the people that I knew that I was going to meet, that's going to be able to help me with my journey in changing the world. And we have to stop looking at education as, what we're going to learn. It's important what we're going to learn. It's important, the theories. But what's even more important is the experiences that we get, the people that we meet, the key learnings. And that's what we have to strive forward. I think school is important. I think a good education could help us go a long way. But what's even more important is to understand the people that we meet along the way in our education. Now, if we look at today, with everything that's available to us, if you look at the internet, if you look at different, ways of learning, as entrepreneurs, do we really need to have all that baggage? All those theories, go to school and learn all these notions? Or can we be self-taught? I truly think you could as well. I don't think it's a must to go to school if you want to become a great entrepreneur. I think it's important for an education. It's great to have as a plan B. Like I mentioned on my first show, when I decided to become an entrepreneur, what gave me a lot of confidence too was my education background. Because I knew if I was going to get indebted a certain amount of money or if I was going to succeed, I was going to fall back on a great education that was going to help me have a great professional career. Same way as a lot of sports people do in their career. They become great athletes, but they have great education because once the career is over, they have something to fall back. That's why school is very important. But what's even more important when you do go to school is that you have to understand why you're going to school and what are the key takeaways that you'll take from it.
We're making it easier to listen to the Voice America Talk Radio Network live wherever you go on iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android. Download it from the Apple iTunes App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market.
Hi, I'm your customer. We've been together for a while, but sometimes it feels like you take me for granted. Sure, you answer when I call. You tell me things will be all right, but I feel like we're growing apart. Maybe it's time we, start seeing other people.
Your customers have more options than ever to take their business across the street, and many believe that the competition is more eager to have their business than you are. What are you doing to make sure your customers are happy, satisfied, loyal?
Please leave a message after the tone.
Can you send another technician?
You guys are the worst company. Can I speak to the supervisor?
This isn't working. How many times are we going to...
What is wrong with you guys? I mean, can we fix this once and for all?
Do I have a contract with you? This is ridiculous.
No, it doesn't work. It just doesn't.
Thank you for calling.
Don't confuse customer satisfaction with customer service. Utopia Image helps you map out the entire client interaction and provides an organic approach to make sure that the issues that make your customers unhappy are really being fixed in real time. Call Utopia Image 1-866-242-5592 or utopiaimage.com.
We're making it easier to listen to the Voice America Talk Radio Network wherever you go. In addition to listening live, you can check out information about your favorite talk show hosts, discover new talk show personalities, add shows to your list of favorites, and listen to all our show archives on demand. All from your iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android. Download it from the Apple App Store, BlackBerry App World, or Android Market, and get ready to tune in. The Voice America mobile app, powered by Aircast.
If you currently or aspire to serve on a board or work in a leadership capacity for or with a public or nonprofit organization, where can you turn to get the best advice and practices? How about Leadership Matters with Dr. G? Our program discusses challenges facing both public and nonprofit leaders. Don't miss these practical solutions and tips to enhance your leadership style and effectiveness. Leadership Matters with Dr. G airs live Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Voice America Business Channel.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Entrepreneur Show. So what are your thoughts so far? What is your opinion on education? Is it overrated? Is education important? Do you need to go to school? Feel free to let me know through Twitter or send me an email at theentrepreneur@anthonylacopo.com. Now, that was my education experiences. And when doing some research on the web in the last couple of weeks, I found an interesting paragraph that kind of summarized my experience. And it goes as follows. It says that entrepreneurs are not defined by their diplomas or the school they attend. They're defined by two key traits. The first one is tenaciousness. And it means the sheer unwillingness to take no for an answer. It's about getting things done. It's about not giving up. Continuing to push when lesser beings would have given up. Entrepreneurs are defined in part by when they quit, and many great entrepreneurs just keep pushing. And the second important factor is the raw capacity to learn. It doesn't mean learning at school. It means learning in life, through experiences, through internet, through people, through colleagues. And most entrepreneurs are in a way over their heads. They have different jobs every month as the company grows. They have to learn products, deals, market, competition, their competitors, how to fundraise, corporate structures, legal issues, how to do HR. And the strongest entrepreneurs are able to take in information from multiple sources, synthesize it, and draw conclusions very quickly from them. So that's when I read that, and I look at my educational experience and my experience of how I started my business, it's really that. It's not because of some theories that I've learned in school. It's all about not giving up, putting in your head that once you start something, you need to finish it and you need to bring it all the way to the end without quitting. I recently read an article by Alex Heichler, which the title was, Peter Thiel Believes the Future Belongs to College Dropouts. And it's quite interesting because it goes kind of the other side of the spectrum from my experience. And I'll read you one of the paragraphs in this article, and it says that he would like Americans to seriously rethink the value of higher education. He thinks we have an education bubble right now, the way we had a tech bubble and a housing bubble. We believe fervently in the value of education, but our faith may be misplaced. Look at all these college graduates moving back in with their parents, kneecapped by student loans. So it kind of gives you another perspective where he believes that students or people are investing too much in their education. And he created a fund, which I find quite refreshing and quite, out there, like very daring, where he calls this fund or program called 20 Under 20, where he'll find 20 promising teenagers and pay them $100,000 each to start a company instead of going to college. Now, it could be controversial. A lot of people saw that really in the negative way, but I think it's new and it's refreshing. And it doesn't mean because you try to start a business, it doesn't mean that if you decide to be an entrepreneur, that you cannot go back to school. School is always there. You don't need to finish school at a certain age. You could study whenever you feel ready and whenever you want to study. So if you decide at 16 years old, at 18 years old, to try your luck with entrepreneurship, and afterwards, if it works or if it doesn't work, and go to school, there's nothing wrong with that. So I think what he's doing, at least he's doing something new. He's kind of daring the system, because there's a lot of people, and it's kind of impressive when you start looking at the list of all the entrepreneurs and successful people that did not go to school. And let's take a couple of minutes now to go over that list. The list where, when I first looked at it, I was quite impressed. Now, there's the usual names that everybody knows that dropped out. So we have Bill Gates from Microsoft, right, that dropped out at 19, which he dropped out from Harvard. There's, and he's the founder or co-founder of Microsoft. There's Guy Laliberté, who's the founder of the Cirque du Soleil, who dropped out of high school. Michael Dell, who dropped out at the age of 19 as well. And we all know Michael Dell, who founded Dell Computers. Ford Motor Company was founded by Henry Ford, which he dropped out at 16 years old. Now, these are huge companies that were built by people that didn't necessarily attend school. Steve Jobs dropped out at 18. Mark Zuckerberg, we all know Facebook, right? 19 years old, he dropped out. Richard Branson created not one, but many billion-dollar companies, and he dropped out at 16. And he also suffers from dyslexia. And I want to just talk a bit about Richard Branson, because I had the privilege of meeting him. And what he said, why did he succeed? And he put it in the fact that when he was 16 years old, 15, 16 years old, and he dropped out, when he started his business, the reason why he had success is because he had nothing to lose. You need to understand that, because it makes a lot of sense. And if you look at in today's world, And one of the biggest problems that there is, and Mr. Richard Branson didn't say not to go to school. What he's saying is that when he did drop out and he succeeded, it's because he didn't have a lot to lose. Well, the problem today is because a lot of students, a lot of kids that go to school, they kind of indebt themselves a lot, whether through assets that they don't want to lose, whether it's cars, loans. So what happens is that when you finish school, you have too much to lose to dare to try your project or try your dreams. Now, in my case, I had to have that 5 seconds of insanity where I forgot and I stopped my brain from thinking and I just threw myself out there. But it's tremendously hard to do that. And that's why Mr. Branson was mentioning that it's important that teenagers and young people don't indebt themselves too much at an earlier age, so to give them the chance of trying their dreams and trying to progress. So those are a couple of names that left school. There's other names, for example, Abraham Lincoln, who kind of, left school. Andrew Carnegie, he dropped out of elementary school. Coco Chanel, so the founder of the brand Chanel. Charles Culpepper, owner and CEO of Coca-Cola. So like you see, not because you went to school or you dropped out of school, it doesn't determine your capacity to have a successful life or professional life. You need to understand why you go to school. Of course, if you want to become a lawyer, you want to become a doctor, you want to become an accountant, you want to become an engineer, you want to have a certain profession. Not everybody has that capacity to support risk or to dare. School is great. But if you're going to school just to go to school, maybe you should rethink your options. Is it worth spending all that money for an education that won't serve you or won't permit you to really express your professional potential fully, to the fullest? I remember once I went to a Donald Trump seminar, and we kind of were, and they had mentioned it, and it was so true, that we're brought up in a system where, like I mentioned before, that, we go to school, we study hard, we get an education, we work for a salary, and we live our life that way. But it doesn't have to be that way. Life is not about a certain standard. We are all different. And we should take this life that we have and try to express ourselves to the fullest. And not because we go to school or we get great diplomas, or we don't go to school and we decide to start companies and try our chances, doesn't mean that we're a better or worse person. Because the bottom line, in my humble opinion, it's all about experiences. It's not about diplomas and successes in education. It's all about finding what's inside of us and daring to develop it. So we have to stop thinking in this system. Nobody should judge no one based on their academic success. I'm not, when I went through my education, I wasn't the smartest person out there, but I could tell you that I was one of the most determined person out there, and that's why I succeeded. So with all the people that I mentioned, it proves to you that school is not the main factor of success. School is out there for people that want to learn. But in today's age, with the internet, with how the world is so close to each other, it's not like it used to be in the past that to learn you needed to be in a classroom. We learn every single day. We're all born with a gift. Every one of us has a special gift. The challenge we have is to discover it. And once we've discovered it, it's having the guts to bet on it. And I think that defines, and that will define, the person we will be. We are not defined by the diplomas, but truly by our character. I hope you enjoyed the show, and that we'll have the opportunity to exchange and continue this discussion on Twitter and Facebook. Now tune in next week as we target a new question on entrepreneurship.
Everything we've done in these over 30 years are about that vision of personal computing.
keep on moving your dream forward, because there is something magical about sticking to your dream longer than anyone around you thinks you have a right to stick to that dream.
When you give everyone a voice and give people power, the system usually ends up in a really good place.
It is really what you give the world that you get back from the world.
One of the best things you can do is to spend some time each day thinking. Because what's the point of getting to the top of your mountain, realizing you did the wrong things?
Stay hungry, stay foolish.